everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CISL 650.
Hey, and welcome back to CISL 650, where we have Strata.Life underway with all of our experts here today. Drew Grout is from Quay Pacific Property Management. In the last segment, we had from Waste Management, Alex Limongelli. And this time around, we're directing our questions to Cameron Carter, president of Normac Insurance Appraisals and Depreciation Reports. At the very beginning of the show, for those who missed it, we talked a little bit about how this is different, and maybe recap again, than what you would get for a regular house, an appraisal for your mortgage or what have you.
Yeah, that's right. So for what we do, we try to figure out how much it's going to cost to rebuild your building in today's market using today's standards. And
we've had some horrible instances in the Lower Mainland of whole units being lost to fire.
That's correct.
Like whole complexes, right?
It has happened. It's unusual, but yes, it has happened for sure. And it's actually happened to some of our properties, as a matter of fact.
So you have to make sure that you're insured to the proper level in order for that to be fixed,
you're right. For a number of different reasons, you've got to take a look at the building and make sure what you see there can be replaced, right? But you also have to look at how has the parking bylaws changed. Mm-hmm. So, for example, back 20 years ago when that building was constructed, you may have only needed 50 parking stalls. But today, if you built that exact same building, you would need 70 parking stalls. So that's an additional 20 parking stalls.
How would you square that?
You figure out how much it costs to add on those 20 parking stalls and tack it on as part of what we refer to as the building code and bylaw review. And when you add all those things together, when you're talking about sprinkler systems, standpipe systems, elevators in some cases, it can be a significant amount of money.
So we referenced it at the beginning that there's legislation that's changed in the last few years. So describe that, the changes to mandate these appraisals.
Well, the Strata Act has had that built into it for many years, actually.
For the insurance side.
For insurance side, it has been.
But the depreciation reports,
exactly.
That's newer.
Different.
Yeah, that's newer. That came into play in 2013, where they made it mandatory to get a depreciation report. And it was an interesting sort of process to go through as a provider, and probably for you too, Drew, because when it first came out, what we sensed actually was quite a bit of mistrust in the public. Misinformation was out there. We heard comments like, oh, it's a cash grab and it's just the government meddling and all sorts of things like that. However, with Drew and the providers in the industry, we went out and did some education for the different, all the strata lot owners. And over time, the perception of the service has actually changed.
I guess this is a great planning tool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what it's meant for. It's a financial planning tool. So you look ahead for the next 30 years, try to figure out when things are going to be replaced, how much it's going to be, and then try to plan for saving some money to pay for those things later on.
Okay, so we'll get back to the next question. And it says, our property has never had an appraisal. Are we going to see huge increases? That's a fear, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's definitely a fear out there. And that sort of keeps some people from getting an appraisal done. Now, strata corporations usually have them done because it's mandated, but not always. The fact of the matter is, if you've never had an appraisal done and you decide to get one done, the chances of it going up, there's definitely a chance it might go up a lot. But the reality is, the other side of it, the other option, if you don't do that, is much worse. And then I'll give you an example. So we were asked to do an appraisal on a property several years ago. So I went out, took a look at the property, realized that they were horribly underinsured, came up with my estimate, which gave them a proper, reasonable amount for replacement cost. And that was it. I thought, okay, great, they're happy. They've got their appraisal. I got a call about a year later from the broker saying, guess what? The property burned down.
Wow.
And then what happened? Well, because they used our number, they were able to replace their entire property at no cost to themselves, and they saved millions of dollars.
Now, I know from having a home that if you're not insured to 80% of the value of the property, then you're not covered. Some insurers say this. Is that true? Do you know that? If you're not...
They call it co-insurance, right?
What does that mean?
Well, if you're only insured to 80% and there's going to be a large claim like the one Cameron's talking about, then the Strata, in this case, if it was Strata, could be on the hook for 20%.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, and the other side of co-insurance, which people should be aware of, is it usually applies to partial losses as well. So even if you have a leak in one unit and it causes $200,000 worth of damage, well, that Strata, because of their 80-20 co-insurance clause, because they didn't get an appraisal, is now on the hook for $40,000.
What happens if they don't have an appraisal and it burns down?
If it burns down,
And then what do they get? What do they do? They don't replace the building. They just replace some of it because they don't have an appraiser.
Whether or not you have an appraisal, if you got insurance in place, then the insurance will protect to the values that they contractually agreed to do.
I see. So in your situation, the appraisal actually got them more.
oh yeah,
This was an accurate one.
Yeah.
it was an accurate appraisal. They were able to replace it, and they literally saved.
So if the
millions.
cost is higher, everybody's on the hook to pay for that extra cost. If it's higher,
That's correct.
Okay, we're going to switch from insurance to the depreciation reports because you do both. Normac does insurance appraisals and depreciation reports, and we talked about the importance of that as a planning tool. So what's your experience at Normac been with this over the last several years?
Well, as I mentioned a little while ago, it was initially seen as a bad thing. I think from the public's perspective, or some at least.
I mean, the overall notion
concept
of the depreciation report.
Exactly.
Something's being forced on us.
Exactly. So we educated. Drew helped educate property managers, service providers. We educated the public, and that started to switch over. As a matter of fact, we put together, along with the Real Estate Institute of Canada, a study of the different providers to try to get a feel for how many people out there have now actually done them, based on a percentage of stratas out there, how many have done them. And so what our research has told us is that it's about 60% of the stratas. That's what we estimate. About 60% of the stratas have done them, which is encouraging. That's an encouraging thing.
Well, part of the reason might be because the next question says, hey, listen, we've got a new complex. It's just a year old. Why do we need a depreciation report? So you've got a lot of building going on, a lot of new stratas being formed. So what's your reply to that?
That is the absolute perfect time to start saving. Because if you can start early with a brand new building.
It's like saving for your RRSP, same thing. Start early, as they always say.
It's like buying life insurance. It's cheaper when you're younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And almost all stratas run into this issue. They buy the unit, it's brand new. The council gets together and says, it's brand new, there's no need for us to save money right now, right? We'll wait for 10 years, whatever the case may be. The problem is that if you wait that long, when it actually comes time to actually start saving, then you're going to have to put a huge money aside. And it's just an absolute shock most of the time to the stratas. And so that's a real issue. So what I would say to people that are brand new in their stratas is start saving now. You can make a huge difference.
But how do you get that through the council meetings to say, hey, we don't really need this money now, but we should really start saving?
That's a big challenge.
It's a huge challenge for you as well.
New buildings,
right?
they're buying in with low strata fees, and they don't want to increase their cost. Mm-hmm. But it makes sense.
Especially because a lot of stratas that are purchased are people who are buying them on the pre-sale, and then they want to sell them within the first year, say, for example, and they want those low numbers. Look at our strata fees. They're low. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, if I can draw an analogy, in my stage in life, if I was starting now...
28?
Yeah. Again, if I was starting, saving now for retirement, I'd have to put so much more in to attain a certain level of retirement. But if I'm 25 years old and I'm starting, I can put a much smaller amount, as you all know.
If you're starting now, Drew, you should just spend it. Forget about it.
So with the building,
buy that Ferrari.
While you don't have a high maintenance expenses happening, it's a perfect time to take that money and put it in to the plan.
Okay, so these depreciation reports, from what we've talked about already, are mandatory every 3 years. So how could a strata sort of skirt that if they haven't done one? Why would they be exempt, or how can they get around it?
Well, the Strata Act here in BC has a bit of an opt-out clause. So if your strata corporation gets together and does a 3/4 vote against having a depreciation report done, you can keep deferring it.
For how long? Indefinitely?
Indefinitely at
that
this
seems
stage.
foolhardy.
You
to
have
me.
to do it 18 months at a time. You can defer it for 18 months,
Right.
then you have to make a conscious decision again to either do it or defer it again.
Is it a really expensive thing to do?
Depends.
It
Not with you
depends.
guys.
Yeah, we're not bad. We're in the middle, I would say, as far as the
No,
prices go.
is
but-
it like something that a Strata says, oh my God, that's like, wow. Or
I
is
don't.
it
I think it's like you don't want to go to the doctor because you might get the bad news. Is that kind of what it is? These Stratas don't want to hear
Sometimes.
this story.
Exactly.
That might come out of this.
Sometimes that's true. For example, if you have a depreciation report, it has to be included as part of a Form B disclosure when you go to sell
If
your
you have
units.
one.
Right.
If you have one. So there is definitely a fear in some people that if we go and get one of these things done and it shows a huge amount of money that's coming down the pipe.
So somebody just about to sell
Exactly.
doesn't want this hanging over them because it shows
Exactly.
what could be coming.
The flip side of it, and to show you how the perception has changed, though, is now potential purchasers are looking for that depreciation report. And if you don't have one,
They think you're hiding something.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get into the next one. Our strata manager is recommending warranty reviews before the warranty period ends. Do we need one? What is a warranty review?
well, all new homes, residential homes in BC, have to be covered by a mandatory third-party warranty. They commonly refer to it here as a 2510 warranty.
New home warranty.
New home warranty.
We've
yeah.
all heard that, yeah.
Exactly. So it covers defects in labor and materials on the building. And it's very important because it gives you a third-party assessment of the property's common components. So what that means when it comes down to the paper that comes back to the strata is that it actually shows the deficiencies in the building. And those deficiencies are then sent to the developer and the warranty provider. And because it's been around so long in BC, it's actually become really a best practices for property managers. It's just actually done for the most part to get these warranty reviews because the developer is much more likely to do something if they've got a third-party report saying you've got issues here, here, and here. You
So
need to do
instead of the
something about it.
owners saying, oh, we need this fixed, somebody outside of the strata is saying it, they're more than likely to take it seriously.
Exactly.
All right, that's the voice of Cameron Carter, president of Normac Insurance Appraisals and Depreciation Reports. When we come back, we'll go around the table one more time and pick up on the questions that have come in that have not been answered yet. That's next on Strata.Life on CISL 650.
There's still more ahead with experts on call on CISL 650.